You know who you are? Do you know who you came here to be? I'm asking. It is not a rhetorical question. Do you? I'm not finished. Is anyone in here finished? We're going to be planning your service soon if you are. Because I think when we finish, that's when we leave. That's when we transition, you know. I believe that's probably how it happens. Well, you know, I've had a lot of help along the way trying to figure out who I was and who I came here to be. And as I said, I don't even consider myself halfway through yet. I figure I have at least another 55 or so more years to ponder that and to change my mind, probably at least 6 or 8 times a day, like any good woman would. But, you know, one of the things I did was, once that I had come my way, was a little exercise in looking at who I came here to be. So we're going to do this. I have copies of the exercise. Would you mind passing those around? Thank you. Oh, okay. So we're going to pass these out, and this is just a little idea. It's just one way you can look at what you're doing and kind of think about how things have measured up in your life. You know, anytime that we are attracted to something, anytime something feels good to us, that means it's ours, okay? That means it's talking to us. And it was very interesting recently. Some of you know that I've been contemplating a move for a while, not out of the area, but just, you know, moving, selling the townhouse that I'm living in. Many of you have come to the townhouse. We started Open Door there 5.5 years ago, and we actually met there for a long time. We just moved in here about a year ago. But, you know, it's a lot of space, and I don't need all that room, and I'm looking at that thinking, well, maybe I'll downsize, maybe I'll go to something different. And I had a friend say to me, quit looking at how you're trying to sell your townhouse and ask your townhouse who it wants to own. Because if somebody's going to pay a mortgage on it, it owns them. So just ask it, who do you want to own you? So one of these days I'm going to sit down in the silence with my residents and say, so who do you want to own you? Who do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up?
But you have to give it choices.
You have to give it choices, but it will tell me. And you know what? I need a copy of that too, Anthony. Thank you. Yeah, it would help, wouldn't it? Okay, so what you have here is just a little written exercise. And if you don't have, does everybody have something to write with? We have pencils too up here. We have Open Door Center for Spiritual Living pencils. Actually, Open Door CSL.org pencils. Yeah, we might need to pass them around. So when you get a pencil, we'll talk about what you do with this. Okay, we're getting passed down here. So we'll take a look now at step 1. And what you're going to do is take a look at the table that's there on that piece of paper that you have. And in the first column, you're going to see the word name. And so what you're going to do is think of people, a person, several people, that you have encountered. They might be real. They might be fictional. They might be someone from your bloodline, from your family. They might be someone that you've never met and realize you may not ever meet, but you know they have qualities that really resonate with you, that you find really attractive. Someone that you admire. And so under that column where it says name, you're going to list the name or names of some people that fall into that category. An example that I give on down a little bit in step 2 is Martin Luther King, who for me was someone who stood his ground and was willing to, you know, walk through the fires and get locked up and go through a lot of pain for what he believed. He really stood true to his inner calling. To me, that's incredibly impressive. So he would be on my list. Another one is a man that I used to work for whose name was David Noland. David is just nothing but an old country boy. Yeah, Sabrina's laughing. Sabrina has known me long enough to where she used to hear the tales when I worked for David years ago, and I used to get off work and go, "You wouldn't believe what he did today. My boss is insane."
Yeah.
There were days when it really would make your hair curl. But he had a capacity about him to where I really recognized that in his presence and as a person who was in his employment, he was willing to let me grow. He was willing to let me learn. He was willing to help me. He was willing to not help me when that was the most appropriate thing. He really blessed me in many, many ways. So he was another one, the first time I did this, I put on my list. So if you've got a person or two that you've put down there, what you're going to do out from each name is you're going to list some qualities or some attributes about that individual that were the things that drew you to them, that maybe drew you over and over to them. So again, with someone like Martin Luther King, for me it would be that he lived his truth. He really stood his ground. It's kind of an esoteric quality, but that's how it's coming to me at the moment. He was very principled. I tend to like and respect people that don't really care what others think, are willing to be who they came to be and stand up for what they believe. For someone like my former employer, and he was a character, and he still is. He's going to be a character, when he's left the body. I'm afraid he'll be more trouble then, possibly. Wherever we go, who knows, right? But he obviously was capable of seeing the good in people, of seeing the potential in them. And for me, that is so close to what we teach as a very basic premise in science of mind, that we see the God in all there is. So powerful. So you have your names and you have your qualities. And the point of this, and you can take this with you today and play with it some more, you can work on it as you go through the day, is simply to recognize a few of those people that have meant a lot to you. Again, they may be, historical, they may be fictional, they may be real, they may be Winnie the Pooh, they may be one of your animal companions. I have my animals continue to teach me a lot, more than sometimes some of my family do. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oops. And then to begin to recognize that there are qualities in a lot of those beings that we really, really resonate to. And, the first time I did this, what happened was I began to see, as I made my list of people, and then really looked at the attributes, I began to recognize kind of common themes. And so what you do on the space that's there under step number 3 is you list those qualities. You list the themes that may come out in those qualities. So perhaps there are a number of people who have been powerful in their lovingness in your world, and you've listed them, and you have loving kindness or lovingness, the expression of love, out from their name. And then you would list that as a theme down below in step 3. Once you complete that part, what you do is then you look for the top 3, the ones that really speak to you. That's the stuff you came here to be. Those are the qualities you came here to exude and to live from, not just to admire, not just to think, gosh, that's really neat, I wish I could, be more similar to that person in their thoughts or their behavior or the way that they live. That's what we came here to do. And the station of our lives, whatever that means in the moment, and it will change. I know many of you can probably resonate with me when I say that my life is like it's maybe not even so many chapters in a book as it is different books now. You know, there was a whole book written around the police, you know, and that era of rock and roll in my life and amazing, crazy things that were going on and how wonderful it was. You know, then there was the era of the mother. I'm so glad she's gotten, my children have grown up, thank you God. Okay, they survived and they have moved on and they're living wonderful lives. I don't have to be a direct care person right now. It's a wonderful thing. To have had it, it's a wonderful thing. I know they're grateful that they moved on. Then there's this book or this chapter. So we have different components, different sections of our lives. No matter what it is that we're doing, those qualities that we resonate to are things that we came here to really embrace and to be and to do. And if you look at them, when we think about what is a quality or an attribute, essentially, no matter what it is something that is causal in nature. I want to be more loving. Well, that's from a place of causing love to fall forward into reality, into form, into life, into beingness. And in this teaching, again, we teach very much that we recognize cause and we recognize effect. And we recognize that as spiritual beings, we aren't effect. We aren't just effect. We are causal. We have the capacity to ordain our lives the way we desire them to be, to think, to change our thinking, to change our feelings, to change what is going on in here. And at any time and every time we do that, we change the terrain, the texture, the nature of our lives. We've done it over and over again. We are always creating. We are creators. That is what we came here to be. Those qualities that you resonate with are the causal elements of your creativity. A couple of years ago, the former head of the Centers for Spiritual Living, Kathy Hearn, was in Asheville. She spoke at a practitioner conference there. Carol and I had the amazing opportunity to go and spend a day there with a lot of other Science of Mind practitioners and ministers and crazy people, many of whom did grow up in the police era, by the way. And one of the things that Kathy Hearn said that day was, she said, we are here to be cause, to be that place from which things move forward into life itself. Don't like what's going on in your life? You're living in the effect. Get out of it. Back up. Go back to that place where things move from the nothingness that everything once was into simple form. Yeah. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is that every stage of our spiritual growth requires us to release something. How many times have you gotten mired down by a sense of weightedness, a sense of discomfort, a sense of inertia? And it's because something was going on and you didn't let go of it. You didn't release it the way you need to. One of the things we get in this teaching is that we, whereas in a more mainstream philosophy might believe that we are releasing things to God, to something outside of us, we recognize that what we're really doing is like certain creatures on the earth, snakes and other things. We are literally releasing a part of ourselves to go even deeper to that inner divinity that we are. We aren't releasing to something out of us. We are surrendering to something within us. Made in the image. That's every one of us. You and me and everyone out there. Regardless of what church they're in, by the way. Ernest Holmes tells us in Creative Mind and Success, man's inner life is one with the divine. There can be no separation for the self-evident reason that there is nothing to separate human being from God, because there is nothing but life, capital L. The separation of two things implies putting a different element between them. But as there is nothing different from God, the unity of God and man is firmly established forever. Spirit and I are one is a simple statement of a great soul, just like your great soul and my great soul, who perceived life as it really is, not from the mere standpoint of outer condition. So these qualities, these things that speak to you, this is what you came here to be. This is how you came here to live. They are the who of you. They are the what of you. As you move through the rest of this weekend and into the week and the completion of tax season, yay. I think I'll wear a clown suit to H&R Black tomorrow just for the fun of it. I don't have one. Anybody got one? I think I really would do that.
I can help you.
Okay, Karina will help me, thank you, okay? Be sure to listen to if you have the police radio band thing, listen, because I might get arrested. But I don't know, it would scare the doodah out of the poor people whose tax return I am completing tomorrow. That would be great. As you go from this place today, play with this some more. And walk around and say to yourself, whatever those qualities are, I am vision. I am light. I am wholeness. I am truth. I am a peacemaker. I am joy. I am the light of the world. Say that to yourself. Say it out loud. If your family thinks you're crazy, bring them next Sunday. Actually, bring them to the Creative Thought Center next Sunday. They'll love that, yes. Yeah. Say this stuff to yourself. You are the divine. There's nothing standing between you and all that you came here to be, except perhaps a little fear. And we'll take that for you and deal with it. So let it go and let it be and know you're loved.